Welcome to Jurassic World.
Guests, welcome to Jurassic World Minute, where we visit Jurassic World 1 minute at a time. I'm Brad.
I'm Dave.
And this minute we're back to discuss minute 94 of Jurassic World. But before we get to that, David, quickly heading over to Jurassic-Pedia.com, we have another article written up here by Tyrannosaur TJ on Velociraptor Communication, something we've seen pretty much across all the films. I'm just trying to think of The Lost World. I don't think we quite get the barking communication there, but definitely Jurassic Park and Jurassic Park 3 we get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't recall it in the Lost World, but interestingly, the first two Jurassic Park movies, we see a much more kind of visual, non-verbal use of communication, and I think we mentioned this when we started Jurassic Park 3, and how the Jurassic Park 3 Raptors are much more vocal with their communication. They kind of vocally communicate much more than the Raptors from the first two movies. And the Raptors in Jurassic World seem to do the same. They seem to use a little bit of the nonverbal communication from the Raptors of the first two movies, but seem to be generally much more vocal than the Raptors in the first two movies.
Alan. Well, it's one of them things that we would definitely want to try and put in. I can't recall if it's mentioned in the Ibris Project article that it would be a trait from the Jurassic Park 3 Raptors. They'd want more communication in the animals to develop them for the project.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we're gonna get some of that communication happening in this minute. Although it sounds one side, but we'll get to it. So, yep, we've got the article up here for Raptor Communication, which pretty much goes through what we just said, and also, as we know, Dr. Grant theorising that the animals were able to communicate in Jurassic Park 3. We get the resonating chamber and all that sort of thing introduced there as well. So,
mm-hmm. I just think it's interesting, though, how certain calls you could almost translate in a way. Like the barking call seems to be a kind of like a call for call to attention towards the rest of the pack, whereas the scream seems to be more of a battle cry, and the kind of that growl they do seems to be more of a like frustrated growl.
Yeah, well, the examples when they enter the kitchen, that first raptor sits up or stands up right up and barks to get the others in. We get the classic "it's calling for help" in Jurassic Park 3, where it's doing a bark, but there's that other sort of fluty noise.
It's almost like a squawking noise.
Yeah. And then, of course, when it does get free and gets out on the steps of the Embryonics Administration Building, and we get more of that bark as well, and we can see the raptors in the jungle hearing that and knowing what it means. So we do get that bark in this minute as well. So for that article and more, head over to Jurassic-Pedia.com for many more.
I know why they wouldn't tell us what it's made of. What? That thing's part raptor.
Dave, ready to get at minute 94?
Yeah.
Alright, minute 94 of Jurassic World opens with Claire being a responsible parent and ends with the shock reveal of the Indominus being part Raptor. Dun dun dun. As we ended minute 93, Claire had stopped the boys from seeing the video feed, fearing a repeat of the earlier encounter with the Indominus. The boys protest, but Claire tells them to keep the window closed. Back in the jungle, Owen and crew approach the fallen log and take up positions. Ahead of them, the Raptors are just standing as one in the clearing, not seemingly hunting the Indominus at all. They just already ran up on it, and are they already communicating? You said before, sort of visual communication, not so much the vocal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We know the Indominus is here. We can hear it sort of breaking twigs and sticks as it's moving amongst the jungle, but it's just sort of weird that the Raptors are just here and just stopped as one. We're not getting that hunting behaviour.
Mm-hmm. Well, as the exercise is meant to go, it's not meant to be a hunt. It's meant to be a find, hence the hide and seek drill, where they're meant to actually find it. They're not actually meant to kill it, which I would suspect is a successful run of that mission. You know?
Yeah, that's a good point. They wouldn't attack and eat or kill the thing they were searching for. Well, that wouldn't be something they'd train them to do.
Mm-hmm. Hence, I think that would be why they were training with live bait, the pig, just because they were trying to train them to ignore their kill instinct in favor of finding but not eating. You know, because most animals only look for food when they're hungry. They don't actually just look for food just to play with it. You know.
Mm.
Some do, but most don't.
Unless it's a novelisation where Uncle's Echo or Charlie got to eat that pig. The soldiers all turn on their red laser sights here to get that sort of visual on screen as they're all looking towards a stand of trees. The Raptors
Which
looking...
I hate. Red lasers are not strong enough to produce that glow.
Mm.
Usually what they do is they either CGI in the laser beam, or I think what they did in this case is fog up the set so that you can see it wafting in the fog.
Yeah. You can get powerful lasers to do it, but not
usually those ones are green.
Yeah. I may or may not have one of those. But you're not having that on just your standard military rifles. There might be some customization here, but the fact that everyone's got the same colour red dot probably shows that there's not any customization going on here whatsoever. But we can hear the Indominus moving amongst the trees here, but we can't see it, whether it's the camouflage or not. But she does emerge slowly, non-threatening, and Alan watching her closely. It doesn't look like she's camouflaged here. She just sort of comes out of the shadows. Again, it would have been good if she was actually standing there the whole time and just decloaks in front of the tree.
I had heard rumor that had been the original intent, and it just kind of came across in the final movie with the animators just making it come out of the shadows and and out from between the vines. But I think this was meant to be another use of it, but it wasn't really executed that way.
Yeah, well, we mentioned back when she comes out at Hamada and ACU, that's the only time in the film we actually see her camouflage, and it's a shame if she's knowingly using these tactics to hunt or stalk the humans. She should be doing a lot more. Even at the final fight, and we'll get there, if she's under attack by the Tyrannosaur and feeling like she's vulnerable or being underpowered, then surely the camouflage would be a sort of defense mechanism to try and help her out a little bit, but we don't see it there either. But then the Indominus and the Raptors have a chat. Sitting there again, we hear a lot of familiar sounds, the barking. We don't hear the identical sounds coming from the Indominus. We do hear similar sounds, but they're sort of changed a little bit. Obviously, bigger animal, deeper lung capacity, all that sort of stuff. You're not going to get the exact same sounds, but...
Which I think is really interesting, because it's almost like a parrot, or even a raven, where the animal hears a sound mimics it and then comes to understand what that sound means.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yep.
Shows an incredible level of quick learning intelligence.
And maybe not so much intelligence. I do play these sounds in front of my sleeping dog, and she doesn't even wake up. So, not general communication here for all animals, just for these two, which is what Barry picks up on, telling Owen that something's wrong. They're communicating. One of those lines from the trailer where we get that turning point of all hell breaking loose. We cut back to the raptors and we hear them barks from Jurassic Park 3, as I said before. The classic I'm calling for help, but more so the bark of the raptors in the kitchen. And Owen replies to Barry, "I know what I didn't tell us what it's made of. That thing's part raptor." Dun dun dun.
Which, I mean, it's kind of a cool line, but at the same time, it makes the implication that the reason they are able to communicate is because they're both part, because the Indominus is part raptor and thus can quote unquote speak raptor, which is not true at all. She's mimicking the noises that the raptors are making and learning how to actually communicate with them. You know?
Yeah.
So kind of in the same way that a parrot would communicate with its owner. Or I guess less kind of mirrored, but more in a true sense, the way that a human and a dog understand each other, even if they can't speak the same language. They understand that certain sounds mean certain things. For example, my dog, she was able to understand what the word walk meant. She couldn't spell it because the only way I could use the word anymore without her going nuts was to spell it. But she knew that the word walk meant going for a walk, which, again, I mean, is an impressive level of intelligence for an animal that's not even a primate, but it's still a kind of communication between two unrelated species two partially related species that still effectively gets messages across, you know?
Yeah. And as for what it's made, I don't know if during the brief while Owen's with Hoskins, if he would have been able to get out of Hoskins what it's made up of. If knowing the Indominus is part raptor, if that would change anything we've seen. Mm-hmm. He's already seen that she's an intelligent animal, so whether it's raptor intelligence or concocted intelligence from mixing everything together in one big pot and making the Indominus, I don't know. Because as you said, it's not the fact that, it's got part raptor, so obviously it can talk raptorese. It's the fact that it's intelligent enough to be able to interpret what the raptors are saying and communicate back.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not quite sure. Well, I suppose the only revelation of the fact that it's part raptor is it is now going to be the alpha. They're going to see it as, you're more badass than Owen, so you're our alpha, which we get next minute. Because I can't see any other reason why it being part raptor's a shock. We know that's based on the T-Rex.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the film, Gray says we need more teeth. Claire goes and lets the T-Rex out. Rexy comes out, bursts through the Spinosaur, sees the Indominus. Instead of fighting, they go off and mate. They go down by the lagoon and have a night. Yeah.
And looking at the scene frame by frame, in the movie it kind of comes across like the Raptors and the Indominus are having a little powwow here. But in reality, it's more nuanced than that. It's the Indominus figures out how to communicate an attack order to the Raptors, and then using non-visual cues looks at Owen, and then the Raptors look at Owen too, indicating that the Indominus intends for Owen to be the target of their attack. So it's not really like me Indominus, me strong big, me want you attack human. It's more me, Indominus big, and then me want attack, and then she looks over at Owen and the message is made clear.
Well, that's how we start next minute. We get that video feed from Echo again, I think, or even all four Raptors, and all looking directly at Owen as he starts to stand up and go, "Oh shit, we're in trouble."
Like I said, I'm looking at the frame by frame here, and the Indominus goes from looking at the Raptors to looking up at Owen, who is further beyond them.
Yeah.
And giving that visual cue that this is what I want you to attack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's how we end the minute. After all the years of training, the Raptors turn on their masters, and they all turn with the Indominus and look back at the people that are hiding behind the log. It's this isn't going well. They're in trouble.
This is why they didn't want the Raptors out.
I don't know how you couldn't see this happening at some stage. Whether they take the Indominus Rex down and then attack, whether they don't find her, this is bound to happen. Owen knew it, and he's the first one that reacts next minute.
The interaction here, though, seems to be... It reminds me a lot of the interactions between Caesar and the other apes and the New Planet of the Apes movies, where Caesar communicates to them, apes together strong. So in this case, dinos together strong, we can defeat the humans.
Yep, they have a good go at it. But that's next minute. We'll talk about that then. Anything else before we get to novel comparisons?
No, I think we're good.
All right. The Raptors circle the Indominus in the novel. The Indominus roars, but sounds a lot like a raptor call. So in the novel, it's describing that she's talking Raptorese. Unfortunately, it's Owen that tells Barry that something's wrong and that they're communicating. So it's the other way around there. But apart from that, much the same as what we get in the film. Dave, that was 94. How about we get heavy for today?
All right.